So here's the story on this one, guys. I had a massive fragrance haul. We bought like five, six fragrances off of fragrancebuy.ca. I love that website. Anytime there's fragrances that I don't need like right now, I'm willing to wait a week and a half or so for them. And I want to get them for the absolute lowest price. That's where I'm going for most of the time. TikTok is starting to low key become one of my number one places to go to as well because they're offering so many free shippings and 20, 30% off of already marked items. But Fragrance CA definitely hooks it up for the low when it comes to the big bottle stuff. And when I ordered this recent fragrance haul, to my surprise, they gave me a sample of Parfums de Marley. Well, we're not going to go into it quite yet. Can you guess which PDM fragrance it is? Stay tuned. All right, guys, welcome to the Scent Bubble. I am your host for the evening. And again, I got a nice little sample due to my last fragrance haul from from Fragrance Buy. And this fragrance is Parfums de Marley Oajan or Oahan. I'm not sure which accent we're going with there, but I've never heard of this fragrance. We typically go with our usual suspects with PDM, but I'm excited to try this because Parfums de Marley has never really disappointed me. There's fragrances that I love, but that I wouldn't purchase. And a lot of their kind of Titan fragrances have a lot of good clones, so I've never really had to go full in on getting a Parfums de Marley fragrance. Plus, if you look on Facebook Marketplace or a lot of the Facebook groups, a lot of people seem to be using their fragrances, decanting a travel size, and then reselling them back out. So maybe that's just because of cost or whatever. There's probably a million different reasons, but let's go ahead and give this a nice spray. I'm not going to put it on skin just because I've been putting stuff on skin all day doing a lot of videos. And I think the test strip it'll suffice because it's a PDM fragrance. The ingredients are more high quality. And if I like this, I definitely want to not waste sprays on nightly videos. Initial thoughts for this fragrance: it is very sweet, it is spicy, there's a lot of different sweetness going on. Like, I'm sure it's like a vanilla, cinnamon, honey, something going on. There's just a lot of sweetness. It's almost of the same caliber of richness and sweetness as Angel Share's Killian, or sorry, Angel Share by Killian. um it's super sweet, but it's so natural and high quality on the ingredients that it's very pleasing. It's not quite so sugary. It's more on the like honey side, but it's got like a crisp lightness to it. In cold weather, this would go absolutely nuts. This has got to be unisex or women's. Let's go ahead and look at the note breakdown. For those of you interested, change screens here. Okay, so here's the fragrance. Okay, yeah, so this tells the story a lot. Amber, warm, spicy, vanilla, cinnamon, honey, sweet, floral. So you got a lot of sweet stuff going on for this fragrance up top. Let's see the actual notes. Okay, cinnamon, honey, osmanthus, benzoin, ambergris, labdanum, artemisia, tonka bean, vanilla, patchouli, and musk. So we were pretty much on point with every sweet note that was in here. It is such a pleasant fragrance though. Like it has a lightness where it doesn't quite feel like gourmand, but it's super sweet. Almost, the reason I compared it to Angel Share is because for a second it almost had like a cognac vibe to it, but it's not quite alcoholic. It's almost mixed drink sweet, but that honey and cinnamon, man, really sticks its head out. And that benzoin ambergris labdanum, I think, is just providing such a girth to the fragrance where this is going to have crazy projection and sillage. Longevity is probably pretty solid too. It's got to be at least 7, 8 hours plus. And yeah, I mean, what you get with this fragrance is just warm, spicy, fresh, slightly heavy. And the distinct notes here is the honey and cinnamon. The vanilla tonka bean benzoin vibe kind of is just sitting behind it to provide extra weight. This is mostly cinnamon and honey, but it's got such a herbaceous kind of green spicy freshness to it that, man, this is just an addictive, seductive fragrance. Um, is it unisex? Let's check. It's got to be. Yeah. What a great fragrance. Man, the quality is just so high in terms of the caliber of sweetness from the cinnamon and honey. I literally feel like I'm drinking this. You know what I'm saying? But that spice in the greens kind of creep in and make it so uplifting and kind of pulls it away from gourmand a bit. And it almost has a liqueur vibe, even to an extent. Like, not quite cognac, but cognac without the bite. Just such a juicy fragrance here. Man, I think a fragrance like this, just to go out of here, is certainly a winter fall fragrance, cold weather fragrance. You're not wearing this out in the heat, otherwise that heat will just sear this off and turn it more into like straight amber. So this is certainly a cold weather fragrance. But man, I think if you have angel share, you might be hard pressed in picking between the two. The cognac note is what kind of makes the Bikilian angel share. I don't want to say a showstopper because this is a showstopper fragrance without question. This will turn heads, but I think the cognac is what distinctly makes angel share. But if you took away that alcoholic cognac note from angel share, these two are like straight neck and neck. And the only unfortunate part about a fragrance like this is the price, and it's only unfortunate to me. This fragrance is going on Amazon right now for, oops, is it gonna give me an Amazon price? What the heck? I think it's like 300 and something dollars. Yeah, I mean it's upwards of $300. You can get it on eBay for as low as like the high 100s, 200 area, 240, 260, 190. Man, that's a pretty price to pay, but I mean, it's money well spent if you want that type of fragrance. Again, if you're on the, I know we discuss a lot of clones and stuff like that. So if that's the situation that you're in, certainly cop something like Fire Your Desire by Amir from Paris Corner, and it's going to give you this fix, like maybe the tiniest bit lesser in quality. But that fragrance doesn't smell synthetic at all. It's totally natural. This is just so juicy in the amber, not in the amber, in the honey cinnamon accord. The perfumery here is just masterful. I would call this like honey cinnamon with a vanilla and amber backbone, teased a little bit with floral to make it feel fresh and not totally gourmand like you're a baked good. This is more on the kind of cognac-y, light, crispy milk mixed drink vibe. But totally, I mean, holidays, this would just be killer. This is like when you go into like a fancy rich person's house and they've got the potpourri laying around, with the cinnamon and the pine cones and all that. It's that, but just soaked in honey and slightly floral. Oh man, this fragrance is addictive. This is worth taking a sample of because if there's a clone with this DNA that's just missing the cognac note, because Fire Your Desire is very close to this. The cognac note slightly takes it more in the alcoholic direction. This takes it more in the honeybee, cinnamon holiday vibe direction, but just by a touch, just by like 5 or 10%. This is an incredible fragrance. And I'll say this, 70% of my collection is dupe and inspired buys. 30% of my collection is OG fragrances and just name brand. I have spent, a lot of money on some fragrances and we will be reviewing them. But like when you smell a fragrance like this, you know, The contrast here is that when you smell a great quality dupe for the first time, you're shocked that they were able to get the same level of quality and performance and creativity of the blend for and still sell the price or still sell the fragrance at 20, 30, 40, $50. When you smell this, this is the opposite end of the coin, where when you smell something like this, you have a huge respect for fragrances north of the $150 price point. And I could probably say that for most of Parfums de Marley. You know, I've smelled Leighton. Um, let's see what else. Parfums de Marley. I've smelled Leighton. I've smelled Herod. I've smelled Oajan now, or Oajan. I've smelled Sedley. I've smelled Carlisle. I've smelled Parsival, and I've smelled Pegasus. And I gotta say, like, the quality on their fragrances is just absolutely insane. I wish they sold their fragrances at half the size of what they currently do, because in this day and age, people have a variety of fragrances. And so even if you have 5 or 6 fragrances of this caliber, you're already creeping into the $2,000-3,000 range. And most people just, that's completely unrealistic. Um, to somebody who's trying to layer and build creativity within their collection. So this is for the fine diners, but if you can get either a sample, a 3, 5, or 10 ml, or even something like a 25 ml of this, this is an absolute showstopper of a fragrance. I think 25 and up is going to be the age range for this. As a 20-year-old, if you smell like this, you smell like a rich kid, mommy and daddy's little charmer, and they just hook you up every Christmas with whatever you want. 25 and up is when it's like, okay, he can afford this fragrance and it's a showstopper. There's a maturity to it. Even though it's very sweet, the complexity and the layering and the perfumery and the blend makes this smell like the finer things in life. I love using common phrases so you guys can kind of, track with me on how I'm describing these fragrances. But again, you should definitely grab this fragrance if you have the money. If you don't, Fire Your Desire will get you like 80% of the way. Now, remember, Amir's Fire Your Desire is not a clone of this. It's a clone of Angel Share, but this is in the realm of Angel Share. Like, this is just maybe a 15% deviation with that soaked honey note instead of the cognac, so it goes even more sweeter and less alcoholic. But those two are like close cousins for sure. Let me know if you have any questions about this fragrance. I definitely have enough to rock this for like 4 or 5 days, so I'm certainly going to on the 1 or 2 cold months of the year that sweep through Arizona. But I'm impressed. I'm highly impressed. These are the type of fragrances that make you say, you know what, I'm going to set money aside and get something like this, a couple months out of the year. And, you won't be disappointed at all. You'll cherish a fragrance like this. Thank you guys so much for rocking with me in the scent bubble. I appreciate you for your time. Interact with me in the comments. I've seen we've kind of been hitting the bee's nest and getting more people talking. We're up on subscribers. I think we're north of 20 now, and I appreciate every step of the journey. Again, I'm uploading videos every single day with a short on YouTube Shorts every single day, probably for the next like 100 days. So always hit those notifications, because you don't have to wait Tuesday and Thursday or Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or once a week to hear from me. I'm always pumping out content. And right now it's going to be primarily review based, so I can get all of those singular reviews out of the way. Then we're going to do our top 5s, top 10s scenario stuff. I've got essential oils so we can try certain notes that are unfamiliar to the common public that we can use to kind of help educate our nose for newer fragrances that we cop. But I just really appreciate all the interaction that comes my way. I made this channel to strictly build conversation and to document my journey and to help people make informed decisions on the vast array of fragrances that are out right now. So until next time, y'all have a blessed night. I'll holler at y'all later.